You know what's funny about the moment your entire life changes? You never see it coming. Not really. You think you do. You think you're prepared for the signs, the red flags, all those little warnings people tell you to watch out for. But when it actually happens, when the ground beneath your feet just opens up and swallows everything you thought was real, you're never ready. My name is Alexandria Carter, but everyone calls me Alex. I'm 34 years old now, and I'm the Chief Operations Officer of Carter Digital Solutions, a tech consulting firm that grossed $47 million last year. We have offices in 3 states, a client list that includes some of the biggest names in retail and healthcare, and a team of over 200 employees who actually enjoy coming to work every day. But 8 years ago, I was a different person entirely. I was someone who believed that love meant sacrifice. That partnership meant putting someone else's dreams before your own. That being a good woman meant making yourself smaller so your man could feel bigger. 8 years ago, I was engaged to Marcus Webb. And 8 years ago, Marcus told me I would be nothing without him. Let me take you back to where it all started because you need to understand who I was then to appreciate who I became. You need to know what I gave up, what I endured, and what I survived to truly understand why seeing Marcus walk into my office last month, resume in hand, begging for a job, felt like the sweetest vindication I've ever tasted. Before we go on, I want to dedicate this story to everyone who's ever been underestimated, dismissed, or told their dreams are too big. You're not too much. You're not too ambitious. You're not asking for too much. You're exactly what the world needs.
Keep building.
Keep rising.
Keep proving yourself right.
The best revenge is success. But the best success is the one you build for yourself, on your own terms, without apology. You'd be nothing without them?
No.
You'd be everything. Go be everything. So, I met Marcus when I was 23 years old, fresh out of Georgia State University with a degree in business administration and dreams bigger than the Atlanta skyline. I had moved to the city with my best friend Tasha, both of us ready to set the world on fire with our ambition and our matching business suits from Target. I was working as a junior analyst at a mid-sized marketing firm called Brennan and Associates. The pay was terrible, $32,000 a year before taxes, but I didn't care. I was learning. I was building connections. I was watching how businesses operated from the inside, taking notes on everything from client relations to project management to the way executives carried themselves in meetings. My plan was simple. Work hard for 5 years, learn everything I could, build my network, save every penny possible, and then launch my own consulting business before I turned 30. I had it all mapped out in a notebook I kept in my desk drawer. Pages and pages of business plans, financial projections, potential client lists, marketing strategies. I was focused, disciplined,
Hungry.
and then I met Marcus at Tasha's birthday party. He was beautiful, I'm not going to lie about that. 6'2" with smooth dark skin, a smile that could light up a room, and this confidence that just radiated off him like heat. He worked in pharmaceutical sales, drove a BMW he was definitely overpaying for, and had this way of making you feel like you were the only person in the world when he talked to you. We clicked immediately. He was charming and funny and ambitious, always talking about his goals, his vision for the future, how he was going to be a top earner at his company within 3 years. I loved that about him. I loved being with someone who understood drive, who wanted more out of life than just a paycheck and a weekend. We started dating in March. By June, he had a key to my apartment. By September, we were talking about moving in together. That's when things started to shift. It was subtle at first. Little comments here and there that I brushed off because I thought he was just being protective or concerned. "You're working late again?" he'd say when I told him I had to stay for a client presentation. "Baby, they're working you too hard for what they're paying you." Or, "You spent your whole weekend on that project? You need to set boundaries, Alex. They're taking advantage of you." I thought he cared about me. I thought he was looking out for me. I didn't realize he was planting seeds. By the time we moved in together in November, those seeds had started to grow. The comments became more frequent, more pointed. "You know, if you spent half the energy you put into that job on us, we have an amazing relationship. I make almost twice what you make, and I'm home by 6 every night. Maybe you should think about finding something with better work-life balance." Your boss doesn't even appreciate you. I heard you on the phone with him yesterday. He talks to you like you're disposable. And here's the thing that makes me angry even now. All these years later, he wasn't entirely wrong. My boss at the time, Gerald Brennan, was a mediocre white man who'd inherited the company from his father and coasted on the reputation his old man had built. He did talk down to me. He did undervalue my work. He did pay me less than I was worth. But I wasn't staying there for Gerald. I was staying there for me, for my education, for my plan. Marcus didn't understand that. Or maybe he did, and that's what scared him. We got engaged on Valentine's Day, 14 months after we met. He proposed at this fancy restaurant in Buckhead, got down on one knee with a ring that probably cost 3 months of his salary, and I said yes because I loved him. Because I thought we were building something together. Because I believed in us. The ring was beautiful. 2 carats, princess cut, platinum band. I stared at it on my finger that whole night, imagining our wedding, our future, our life together. I should have been paying attention to other things. Like the way Marcus's smile didn't quite reach his eyes when I told him I'd been selected to lead a major project at work. Or the way his jaw tightened when my supervisor mentioned that I was being considered for a promotion. Or the way he changed the subject every single time I brought up my 5-year plan. The real problem started about 3 months after we got engaged. I came home one evening, excited because I'd just had a meeting with a potential client I'd landed on my own. A small business owner who needed help with digital marketing strategy. It wasn't through Brennan and Associates. This was mine, a side project, the beginning of what I hoped would eventually become my own client base. I walked into our apartment bubbling over with enthusiasm, ready to tell Marcus every detail. He was on the couch, beer in hand, watching SportsCenter. "Baby, you won't believe what happened today," I started. He didn't look away from the TV. I met with that small business owner I told you about. The one with the boutique in Midtown? She loved my proposal. She wants to hire me to completely overhaul her online presence. It's only a $5,000 contract, but it's mine. I did this on my own. That's when he turned to look at me.
Really look at me.
And something in his expression made my excitement falter. "You're doing freelance work now?" he said slowly. "Well, yeah. I mean, I have to start building my own client base eventually, right? That's always been the plan." "The plan," he repeated. "Alex, we're getting married in 8 months. Don't you think you should be focused on that instead of chasing side hustles?" I sat down on the arm of the couch, confused. I can do both. This isn't taking away from wedding planning. I'm doing the client work in the evenings and on weekends. "In the evenings and on weekends," he said. "So, basically all the time we normally spend together. It's temporary. Just until I build up enough clients to go out on my own." And there it was. The moment his whole face changed. "Go out on your own," he said flatly. "You're still on that?" "Still on what?" "Marcus, you know this has always been my goal. I've told you since we met that I want to start my own business." He set his beer down on the coffee table, hard enough that some of it sloshed over the rim. "Alex, be realistic. Do you have any idea how many small businesses fail in the first year? 90%. 90% of people who try to do what you're talking about end up broke and begging for their old jobs back." "I'm not most people," I said quietly. "No, you're not. You're my fiancé. And I'm trying to build a life with you, a stable life. I'm trying to plan for our future, for a house, for kids eventually. And you're over here talking about throwing away a steady paycheck to chase some pipe dream." Pipe dream. That's what he called it. My carefully researched, meticulously planned business venture was a pipe dream. I should have left right then. I should have taken that ring off my finger and walked out the door. But I didn't. You know why? Because I loved him. Because I'd already sent out the wedding invitations. Because I'd already put deposits down on the venue and the caterer. Because my mama had already bought her dress and my bridesmaids had already ordered theirs. Because leaving felt harder than staying. So I stayed. And I told myself he was just stressed about the wedding expenses. That he'd come around once he saw how serious I was. That his concerns came from a place of love. I was so good at lying to myself back then. Over the next few months, Marcus's campaign against my ambitions became more aggressive. He stopped calling it a business plan and started calling it a hobby. He'd make jokes about it in front of friends. "Oh, Alex is going to be a big-time CEO someday," he'd laugh, and everyone would chuckle along, not realizing he was mocking me. "She's going to fire me when she makes it big." He started picking fights about the time I spent working on my side projects. If I had my laptop out when he got home, he'd get this martyred expression on his face. "I guess I'll just make dinner myself then." Again. "I was going to watch the game, but I can see you're busy with your little business thing." Remember when we used to actually spend time together? That was nice. The guilt was constant, relentless. Every hour I spent on my business felt like I was choosing it over him, over us, over our relationship. And he made sure I felt that weight every single day. But here's what really gets me looking back. While he was criticizing my ambition, he had no problem with me using that same ambition to benefit him. When his company was looking to promote someone to senior sales representative, who do you think helped him prepare for his presentation? Who stayed up until 2 in the morning helping him put together a portfolio of his sales achievements? Who coached him through his talking points and gave him feedback on his delivery?
Me.
When he wanted to negotiate a higher commission rate, who researched industry standards and helped him build a case for why he deserved more? Who role-played the negotiation with him a dozen times until he felt confident?
Me.
When he was stressed about hitting his quarterly targets, who listened to him vent for hours, who brainstormed strategies with him, who supported him emotionally and practically?
Me.
Every damn time. But when I needed that same support, when I was working on client proposals or refining my business model or networking at industry events, he had nothing but criticism and complaints. The double standard was staggering, but I couldn't see it clearly then. I was too deep in it, too committed to making it work, too convinced that if I just tried harder, loved better, sacrificed more, he'd eventually support my dreams the way I supported his. The breaking point came 3 months before our wedding. I'd been working with my boutique client for a few months, and she was thrilled with the results. Her online sales had increased by 40%. Her social media engagement had tripled. She was getting inquiries from people 3 states away. And she'd told 3 of her business owner friends about me. Suddenly I had 4 clients. Then 6. Then 8. I was making an extra $2,000 a month, which doesn't sound like much, but to someone making $32,000 a year at her day job, it was significant. It was also proof of concept. Proof that my business model worked. Proof that there was demand for my services. Proof that I could actually do this. I was keeping meticulous records of everything. Client contracts, invoices, payment receipts, testimonials. I had a business bank account set up. I'd filed for an LLC. I was building something real, something sustainable, something that could actually support me. I was sitting at our dining room table one Saturday afternoon, working on a proposal for a potential new client, when Marcus came out of the bedroom. He'd been sleeping in because he'd been out late the night before with his boys. He looked at me, looked at my laptop, looked at the papers spread across the table, and I watched his expression harden. "We need to talk," he said. Those 4 words. The ones that never lead anywhere good. I closed my laptop. "Okay, what's up?" He sat down across from me, and I noticed he didn't look at me. He was staring at a spot just over my left shoulder. "This business thing," he started. "It needs to stop." I blinked. "Excuse me?" "You heard me. This whole side hustle situation, it's getting out of hand. You're on your computer every night, every weekend. You're taking calls during dinner. You're distracted all the time. It's affecting our relationship. Marcus, I'm building something here. This is important to me. More important than us? More important than our marriage. That's not fair, and you know it. Why can't I have both? You have your career and our relationship. Why can't I?" "Because my career is stable," he shot back. "I have a salary, benefits, a 401k. I'm not gambling our future on some unproven idea. It's not unproven anymore. I have 8 clients. I'm making money. Real money. $2,000 a month is not real money, Alex. That's barely enough to cover groceries and gas. Meanwhile, you're exhausting yourself working 2 jobs. You're stressed all the time, and we barely see each other. So, what are you saying? You want me to just give this up? Give up on everything I've been working toward? He finally looked at me then, and what I saw in his eyes shocked me. It wasn't concern. It wasn't love. It was something cold. Something hard. I'm saying you need to choose. This business fantasy, or our marriage. Because I'm not going to compete with a laptop for my wife's attention for the rest of my life. The room felt like it was spinning. You're giving me an ultimatum? I'm trying to save our relationship. I'm trying to build a future with you. But you're so focused on this business obsession that you can't see what you're throwing away. What I'm throwing away? Marcus, I've supported every single one of your career goals. Every promotion you've gone for, every raise you've negotiated, I was right there helping you, cheering you on. And the one time I ask for the same support, you call it an obsession? That's different.
How?
How is it different? Because my career is established. Yours is a risk. A big one. And I'm not willing to stake our future on your need to prove something. Prove something? You think that's what this is about, isn't it? He leaned back in his chair, arms crossed. Come on, Alex. You've always had this chip on your shoulder about being underestimated. You're always trying to show people what you're capable of. But you don't need to prove anything to anyone. You're smart, you're capable. Everyone knows that. You don't need to run yourself into the ground trying to build some empire to validate yourself. I stared at him, and for the first time, I really saw him. Not the man I thought I'd fallen in love with. Not the partner I thought I was building a life with. But the man he actually was. Someone who felt threatened by my ambition. Someone who needed me to stay small so he could feel big. Someone who talked about partnership but meant subordination. I think you should leave, I said quietly. He looked startled. What? I need you to leave.
Right now.
I need space to think. Alex, don't be dramatic. I'm not being dramatic. You just told me I have to choose between my dreams and our relationship. That's not dramatic, Marcus. That's devastating. And I need you to go. He stood up, and I could see anger flashing across his face.
Fine.
But while you're thinking, maybe consider this. I make $68,000 a year. You make 32. I have a company car, a corporate card, and a career path that could have me in six figures within 5 years. What do you have? A laptop and some small business clients who are probably going to disappear the minute something goes wrong. So yeah, think real hard about what you're throwing away here. And then he said it. The words that would echo in my head for years. The words that would fuel me through every obstacle, every setback, every moment of doubt. You'd be nothing without me, Alex. Nothing. And we both know it. He grabbed his keys and his wallet and walked out. I sat at that table for 3 hours without moving. Just sat there, staring at my laptop, at my business plans, at the ring on my finger. And then I made a decision. I called off the wedding the next day. Not because Marcus had left. He came back that same night, apologetic, claiming he'd been stressed and hadn't meant what he said. He brought flowers. He brought takeout from my favorite restaurant. He was affectionate and sweet and everything he'd been when we first started dating. But I'd heard the truth. I'd seen behind the mask. And I couldn't unsee it. When I told him the engagement was off, he was shocked. Actually, genuinely shocked. I don't think it had occurred to him that I would actually choose my business over him. That I valued my future more than I valued being his wife. You're making a huge mistake, he told me as he packed his things. You're going to regret this. Maybe, I said. But at least it'll be my mistake to make. He moved out that week. I kept the apartment because my name was on the lease. I sold a ring and put the money into my business account. I called the vendors and canceled everything, losing most of my deposits. I told my family and friends that the wedding was off, enduring the questions and the concern and the judgment from people who thought I was crazy for leaving a man with a good job and a nice car. My mama didn't speak to me for 3 weeks. She loved Marcus, thought he was exactly what I needed.
Stable.
Responsible. A good provider. You're going to end up alone, she told me during one particularly brutal phone call. You're so busy chasing success that you're going to wake up one day and realize you let a good man slip through your fingers. Even Tasha, my best friend, the person who knew me better than anyone, was skeptical. "Are you sure about this?" she asked over wine one night. "I know Marcus said some messed up things, but don't all couples fight about career stuff? Maybe you could go to counseling, work through it." "He told me I'd be nothing without him," I said. She was quiet for a long moment.
Yeah. Okay.
"Forget counseling. You made the right call." But despite her support, I could see the worry in her eyes. The concern that maybe I was being rash, that maybe I was throwing away a good relationship over pride, that maybe Marcus had been right about the risks. I saw that same worry reflected everywhere. In my coworkers' expressions when I told them. In my father's careful questions about whether I'd really thought this through. In the way people started treating me differently, like I was fragile, like I might break. The only person who seemed genuinely happy about my decision was my grandmother, my daddy's mother, a woman who'd built her own catering business back in the 70s when banks wouldn't give black women business loans. "Baby girl," she said to me, holding my face in her weathered hands, "never let a man convince you to make yourself smaller. Never. You hear me? A real man, a good man, he's going to want to see you shine. He's going to want to help you reach higher, dream bigger. If he's trying to dim your light, it's because he's afraid his own ain't bright enough." I held on to those words like a lifeline in the months that followed. Because those months were hard. Harder than I'd expected. Losing Marcus wasn't the difficult part, honestly. Once he was gone, once I didn't have to deal with his constant criticism and passive aggression, I felt lighter. Like I could breathe properly for the first time in months. No, the hard part was everything else. I threw myself into my business with everything I had. I was working my full-time job at Brennan and Associates during the day, then coming home and working on my consulting business until midnight or later. I was networking every chance I got, attending every industry event, every business mixer, every conference I could afford. I was running on 4 or 5 hours of sleep a night, living on coffee and ambition. And it was working. Slowly, gradually, but it was working. Within 6 months of calling off the wedding, I had 15 clients. Within a year, I had 23. I was making as much from my consulting business as I was from my day job. That's when I knew it was time. I gave my 2 weeks notice at Brennan and Associates in October, exactly 18 months after Marcus had walked out. Gerald Brennan called me into his office when he got my resignation letter. "I'm disappointed, Alexandria," he said, using my full name like he was my daddy or something. "I thought you had a future here." "I do have a future, sir. Just not here." "What are you going to do? You have another job lined up?" "I'm starting my own consulting firm." He actually laughed. Out loud. Like I'd told him a joke. "Consulting? You're, what, 25 years old? Who's going to hire a 25-year-old consultant?" "I already have 23 clients, Mr. Brennan. And I'm 26, actually." His smile faded. "You've been running a business while working here?" "On my own time, yes, sir. Evenings and weekends. It hasn't affected my performance." "That's a conflict of interest. With respect, I've checked my employment contract thoroughly. There's no non-compete clause, no restrictions on outside work. I haven't solicited any Brennan and Associates clients, and I've been careful to keep everything separate." He stared at me for a long moment, and I could see him trying to find an angle, a way to make me stay or make me fail or make me regret my decision. "You're making a mistake," he finally said. "Do you have any idea how hard it is to run a successful business? The hours, the stress, the financial risk? You're going to work yourself to death and end up with nothing to show for it." I stood up, smoothing down my skirt. "Maybe. But at least I'll have tried. Thank you for the opportunity to work here, Mr. Brennan. I've learned a lot." And I walked out of his office with my head high and my hands steady, even though inside I was terrified. Because he wasn't wrong about the risks. Starting a business is scary. It's uncertain. There are no guarantees, no safety nets, no steady paychecks. But I'd rather take that risk than spend the rest of my life wondering what if. The first year of running Carter Consulting Services full-time was brutal. I rented a tiny office space in a shared building in East Atlanta. It was barely big enough for a desk, a filing cabinet, and 2 chairs for client meetings, but it was mine. I put my business cards on that desk with pride. I hired my first employee in month 3. Her name was Jennifer, a recent college grad with a marketing degree and more enthusiasm than experience. I could only afford to pay her part-time, 20 hours a week at $15 an hour, but she was grateful for the opportunity and worked her tail off. Together, we were a team of 2, taking on projects that agencies with 50-person teams were competing for. And we were winning. Not every time, but enough. Enough to keep the lights on. Enough to make payroll. Enough to slowly, gradually build a reputation. My clients were mostly small businesses at first. Boutiques, restaurants, local service providers. People who couldn't afford the big agencies, but still needed help with their marketing, their operations, their digital presence. I gave them big agency quality work at prices they could afford, and they loved me for it. Word spread. Referrals came in. I started landing bigger clients. A regional healthcare provider. A small chain of grocery stores. A manufacturing company that needed help streamlining their supply chain management. By the end of year 1, I had 32 clients and 3 employees. I'd moved to a larger office space. I'd brought in $280,000 in revenue. I was profitable. Barely, but profitable. And I was exhausted. More exhausted than I'd ever been in my life. There were nights I slept in my office because I was too tired to drive home. Days I forgot to eat because I was so focused on client deliverables. Weeks where I questioned everything, wondered if Marcus and Gerald and my mama had been right, wondered if I should just give up and get a normal job like a normal person. But then I'd get an email from a client thanking me for helping them increase their revenue. Or I'd see one of my employees light up when they solved a complex problem. Or I'd look at my bank account and realize I'd just paid myself an actual salary, a real one, more than I'd ever made working for someone else. And I'd remember why I was doing this. Not to prove Marcus wrong, though that was definitely a bonus. Not to show Gerald Brennan that he'd underestimated me, though that felt pretty good too. But to prove to myself that I could. That I was capable of building something meaningful. That I didn't need anyone to validate my worth or my vision. I didn't hear from Marcus for almost 2 years after we broke up. No calls, no texts, nothing. It was like he'd vanished from my life completely, which was fine by me. I was too busy building my business to think about him most days. But then I ran into him at a restaurant. I was there for a business dinner with a potential client, a CEO of a mid-sized tech company who was considering hiring my firm to help with a major digital transformation project. It was a big deal, potentially a 6-figure contract, and I'd spent weeks preparing for this meeting. I was confident, poised, wearing my favorite navy suit and my good luck heels. I felt powerful, in control, like I belonged in these spaces at these tables having these conversations. And then I saw him. Marcus was at the bar with a woman I didn't recognize. She was pretty, younger than me, laughing at something he was saying. He had his hand on the small of her back in that possessive way he used to do with me. For a moment, our eyes met across the room. I saw surprise flash across his face. Then something else. Something I couldn't quite read. I gave him a small nod, acknowledging his presence but making it clear I wasn't interested in conversation, and turned my attention back to my client. We had a great dinner. The CEO was impressed with my proposal, my track record, my vision for how we could help his company. By the time dessert arrived, he was ready to move forward. "I'm going to be honest with you, Alex," he said as we shook hands. I was skeptical about hiring a small firm for a project this size.
But you've convinced me.
Your team's approach is exactly what we need. I was riding high as I left the restaurant, practically floating to my car. And then I heard my name. Alex. Wait. I turned. Marcus was jogging toward me, leaving his date at the bar. "Hey," he said, slightly out of breath. "I thought that was you. You look great." "Thanks. You too." Awkward silence. "So," he said, shifting his weight from foot to foot. "I heard you're doing the business thing. How's that going?" "It's going well. Really well, actually." "That's great. That's really great. I'm happy for you." He didn't look happy. He looked uncomfortable, maybe even a little bitter. "How about you?" I asked, being polite. "Still at the pharmaceutical company." Yeah. Actually, I'm a senior sales rep now. Made it last year. Congratulations. Thanks. It's good money. I mean, stable. There was that word again. Stable. Like it was the holy grail of career achievement. Well, it was good seeing you, I said, moving toward my car. Take care of yourself, Marcus. Alex, wait. Can I just say something? I paused, hand on my car door. Sure. He ran his hand over his head, a gesture I recognized from our time together. It's what he did when he was anxious. I've thought about you a lot over the past couple years. About us. About how things ended. And I just want you to know that I'm sorry. For the things I said. For not supporting you the way I should have. You deserved better. I studied his face, trying to determine if he was being sincere or if this was some kind of manipulation. But he looked genuine. He looked like he actually meant it. I appreciate you saying that, I said carefully. I was threatened by your ambition. I can admit that now. I was scared that if you became too successful, you wouldn't need me anymore. And instead of dealing with that like an adult, I tried to make you smaller. That was wrong.
Yeah, it was.
For what it's worth, I really am happy you're doing well. You always deserve to succeed. And then he said something that made my blood run cold. I just hope you haven't sacrificed too much for it. Success is great, but don't forget to actually live your life, Don't let the business consume you. There it was, buried under the apology and the well wishes. The same condescension. The same implication that I wasn't capable of balancing success and life. That my ambition was somehow unhealthy, unnatural, something that would ultimately destroy me. He hadn't changed at all. He'd just gotten better at disguising it. I'm living exactly the life I want, I said coolly. Thanks for your concern, though. I got in my car and drove away, without looking back. That encounter with Marcus lit a fire under me that I didn't even know was dormant. I went back to my office that night and looked at my business plan, the updated version I'd been working on for months. It was ambitious. Maybe too ambitious. It involved expanding into new markets, hiring a larger team, pursuing enterprise-level clients that would require significant upfront investment.
It was risky.
But I was tired of playing it safe. I was tired of building slowly, carefully, always worried about what might go wrong. I'd proven I could survive. Now I wanted to thrive. I spent the next 3 months implementing an aggressive growth strategy. I hired 5 new consultants, all of them experienced professionals I'd been networking with for years. I invested in a proper office space, a full floor in a nice building in Midtown with conference rooms and a break room and everything. I rebranded from Carter Consulting Services to Carter Digital Solutions, reflecting our expanded focus on technology integration and digital transformation. And I started pitching to bigger clients. Fortune 500 companies, national retail chains, major healthcare systems. I got rejected a lot at first. I was too small, too new, too risky. They went with the established firms, the ones with 20-year track records and offices in New York and San Francisco. But I only needed one to say yes. And in month 4 of my expansion push, one did. A national retail chain with over 300 stores needed help overhauling their entire digital infrastructure. It was a massive project, 18 months of work, worth over $1 million. They chose us. I remember the day I got the call. I was in my office, reviewing proposals with Jennifer, who was now my director of client relations.
My phone rang.
Unknown number. I almost didn't answer. This is Alex Carter. Miss Carter, this is David Chun from Hartwell Retail Group. I'm calling with good news. We'd like to move forward with your proposal. I must have made some kind of sound because Jennifer looked at me with alarm. I'm sorry, could you repeat that? We're choosing Carter Digital Solutions for our infrastructure overhaul project. Your proposal was exactly what we were looking for. When can you start? When I hung up, I just sat there for a moment, staring at my phone. Alex. Jennifer said carefully. What happened? We got Hartwell. I whispered. We got what? We got Hartwell. The retail project. We got it. Jennifer screamed. Actually screamed, right there in the office. And then we were both screaming, hugging each other, jumping up and down like we'd won the lottery.
Because in a way, we had.
That project changed everything. It put Carter Digital Solutions on the map. Suddenly, we weren't just another small consulting firm. We were the small firm that landed Hartwell, the underdog that beat out firms 10 times our size. The press picked up the story. Local business journals wrote articles about us. I got invited to speak at conferences, to sit on panels, to share my story of building a business from scratch. And with that visibility came more opportunities. Within a year, I had tripled my revenue. Within 2 years, I'd opened offices in Charlotte and Nashville. Within 3 years, I had over 100 employees and was grossing $20 million annually. I hired strategically, building a team of brilliant people who were as committed to excellence as I was. I promoted from within, giving opportunities to employees who showed initiative and talent. I created a company culture that valued innovation, collaboration, and work-life balance because I remembered what it was like to work for people who didn't value those things. I paid my people well, better than market rate. I offered generous benefits, flexible schedules, professional development opportunities. I wanted Carter Digital Solutions to be the kind of place people were excited to work, not just a job they tolerated for a paycheck.
And it worked.
Our retention rate was incredible. Our employee satisfaction scores were through the roof. People wanted to work for us. Clients wanted to hire us. Competitors wanted to be us. I was living my dream. I was building something meaningful, something that mattered, something that was changing people's lives, both my employees and my clients. I bought a house. A real house, not an apartment or a condo. A 4-bedroom home in a nice neighborhood with a home office and a backyard and everything. I bought myself a car. A nice one. Not a BMW like Marcus used to have, but a sleek black Tesla that I absolutely loved. I invested in myself. Nice clothes, a good hairstylist, a personal trainer to help me stay healthy despite my demanding schedule. I wasn't trying to impress anyone. I was just finally able to afford the things I'd always wanted. And I made sure to give back. I started a scholarship fund for young Black women pursuing business degrees. I mentored aspiring entrepreneurs. I donated to causes I cared about. My life was full.
Rich.
Meaningful. Was I alone romantically?
Yeah.
I dated here and there over the years, but nothing serious. I was too focused on building my business to invest in a relationship, and I was okay with that. I'd rather be alone and successful than partnered and diminished. My mama eventually came around once she saw how well I was doing. She actually apologized to me one day, tears in her eyes, admitting that she'd been wrong to pressure me about Marcus. I was scared for you, she said. I didn't want you to struggle. But you've done more than just survive, baby. You've flourished. I'm so proud of you. Tasha was my biggest cheerleader, attending every company milestone, celebrating every victory with me like it was her own. She'd gotten married and had a baby, and I was godmother to her daughter, a role I took seriously despite my busy schedule. Life was good, really good. And then last month, something happened that I never could have predicted. Something that brought everything full circle in the most satisfying way possible. I was in my office, the corner office on the 10th floor with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Midtown Atlanta, when my executive assistant Marcus knocked on my door. Yes, his name is also Marcus. No relation to my ex. Just one of those weird coincidences that life throws at you. Alex, you have a few minutes? There's someone here who'd like to speak with you about a position. I looked up from the quarterly financial reports I'd been reviewing. I thought all new hire interviews were going through HR first. Usually yes. But this candidate asked specifically to speak with you. Said you know each other. Something in his tone made me pause. Who is it? Marcus Webb. For a moment, I thought I'd misheard. I'm sorry, what? Marcus Webb. Says he used to know you. Should I tell him you're not available? I sat back in my chair, processing this information. Marcus. My Marcus. Well, not my Marcus anymore. But the Marcus who'd told me I'd be nothing without him. The Marcus who'd given me an ultimatum. The Marcus who'd walked out rather than support my dreams. That Marcus was here in my building, asking for a job. I should have told my assistant to send him away. I should have had HR handle it if he'd actually applied for a position. I should have maintained professional distance and let the normal process work. But I'm only human, and I wanted to see this for myself. Give me 5 minutes, then send him in. My assistant nodded and left, closing the door behind him. I stood up and walked to my window, looking out over the city. I needed a moment to compose myself, to process what was about to happen. Marcus Webb was about to walk into my office and ask me for a job. The irony was almost too perfect. I checked my reflection in the window. I was wearing a tailored cream pantsuit, my hair was freshly done, and I looked every inch the successful CEO I'd become. Good. I wanted him to see exactly what I'd built, exactly who I'd become, exactly what I'd achieved without him. There was a knock on the door. Come in. The door opened and there he was. 8 years had changed him. He was still handsome, but there was something diminished about him now. His suit was nice, but not expensive. His shoes were scuffed. And there was something in his posture, in the way he carried himself, that spoke of defeat. He stopped just inside the door, taking in my office. The mahogany desk, the leather furniture, the awards and accolades on the walls.
The view.
Alex, he said quietly. Thank you for seeing me. Marcus. It's been a long time. 8 years. Give or take. Awkward silence filled the room. Please sit down, I said, gesturing to one of the chairs across from my desk.
He sat.
I returned to my chair, putting the desk between us. A barrier, a symbol of the power dynamic that had shifted so completely. I saw you were hiring for a senior sales position, he began, and I wanted to throw my hat in the ring. You're looking for a job? Yeah. My company, the pharmaceutical firm I was with, they downsized 6 months ago. I've been looking since then, but the market's tough right now. I imagine it is. He shifted in his seat, uncomfortable. I know this is awkward, given our history, but I'm good at what I do, Alex. I have over a decade of sales experience, I've consistently been a top performer, and I think I could bring real value to your team. I studied him for a long moment, letting the silence stretch. Why here? I finally asked, why Carter Digital Solutions? There are plenty of other companies hiring. He met my eyes then, and I saw something raw in his expression. Something honest. Because I've been following your success over the years, watching what you've built, and I realized that this is the kind of company I want to work for, the kind of leader I want to work with. You've created something special here, Alex. Everyone in the industry knows it. Flattery isn't going to get you hired, Marcus. It's not flattery. It's the truth. You've built one of the most respected consulting firms in the Southeast. Your retention rates are incredible. Your clients rave about you. Your employees actually like working here. That's rare.
Yes.
It is. Another pause. Look, he said, leaning forward. I know I don't deserve your consideration. I know I was terrible to you when we were together. I was threatened by your ambition, and instead of supporting you, I tried to tear you down. I've regretted that every day for the past 8 years. Have you?
Yes.
Absolutely. And if you're not comfortable hiring me because of our history, I completely understand. But I hope you'll at least look at my resume, consider my qualifications. I promise I would be professional. We'd never have to discuss our past. I just need a chance. I opened my laptop and pulled up his application. He'd submitted it through the normal channels like everyone else. I scanned his resume, his cover letter, his references. On paper, he was qualified. Maybe even overqualified for the position. His sales numbers were solid. His references were glowing. Under normal circumstances, HR would absolutely have passed him through to the interview stage. But these weren't normal circumstances. Tell me something, Marcus. When you applied for this position, did you know I was the CEO? He hesitated. Yes. So you knew you'd potentially be working for me. Your ex-fiancée. The woman whose dreams you once called a pipe dream. He flinched. I deserve that. Answer the question. Are you comfortable with that dynamic? Reporting to me? Honestly, it would be humbling. But yes, I could handle it. Because I respect what you've accomplished. I respect the leader you've become. I closed my laptop and stood up, walking to the window. Do you remember what you said to me the night we broke up? I asked, not looking at him. Alex, I've apologized for that. I was angry and stupid and wrong. I'm not looking for an apology. I'm asking if you remember what you said. Silence. Then, quietly, I said you'd be nothing without me.
That's right.
You did. I turned to face him. I'm going to tell you a story, Marcus. The story of what happened after you left. For the next 20 minutes, I told him everything. I told him about working 80-hour weeks to build my business, about the sleepless nights and the constant rejection and the moments of crushing self-doubt. I told him about landing my first major client, about hiring my first employee, about moving into my first real office. I told him about the risks I took, the loans I secured, the deals I negotiated. I told him about expanding into new markets, about hiring brilliant people who believed in my vision, about creating a company culture built on respect and excellence and opportunity. I told him about landing the Hartwell contract, about the press coverage and the speaking engagements and the industry recognition. I told him about opening new offices, about crossing the $20 million revenue mark, about becoming one of the fastest growing firms in the Southeast. And I told him about the scholarship fund, the mentorship programs, the community initiatives, about using my success to create opportunities for others. He listened without interrupting, his expression changing from uncomfortable to shocked to something that looked almost like grief. When I finished, the office was silent except for the distant sounds of the city below. You did all of that without me, he finally said, and his voice was thick with emotion. No, Marcus.
I didn't do it without you.
He looked confused. I did it because of you. Because the night you walked out, the night you told me I'd be nothing without you, something inside me shifted. I realized that I'd been making myself smaller to make you comfortable. That I'd been apologizing for my ambition, like it was something to be ashamed of. That I'd been seeking validation from someone who would never give it because your ego couldn't handle it. I walked back to my desk, standing behind my chair rather than sitting. So, thank you, Marcus. Thank you for giving me that ultimatum. Thank you for leaving. Thank you for saying those words that have echoed in my head during every obstacle, every challenge, every moment when I wanted to give up. Because every single time, I'd remember what you said, and I'd think, watch me prove him wrong. He was staring at me with an expression I'd never seen before. It wasn't anger or resentment. It was realization, understanding, maybe even respect. I'm sorry, he said, and this time it sounded different, more genuine.
I'm so sorry, Alex.
For all of it. You deserved so much better than what I gave you.
Yes.
I did. And you created it for yourself anyway.
Yes.
I did. He stood up, seeming to understand that this meeting was coming to an end. I don't expect you to hire me, he said. I understand if this is too complicated, too personal. I just wanted you to know that I've watched you succeed, and I'm genuinely in awe of what you've accomplished. You were right about everything, and I was wrong. He turned toward the door. Marcus, wait. He stopped, turned back. I sat down in my chair, the CEO's chair in the corner office of the company I'd built from nothing. I'm going to do something that might surprise you, I said. I'm going to send your resume to our hiring manager. I'm going to have you go through the same interview process as every other candidate. Multiple interviews, skills assessments, reference checks, the whole thing. His eyes widened. Really? Really? Because despite our history, you're qualified for the position. And I don't let personal feelings interfere with business decisions. That's not how I run my company. Thank you. Thank you so much, Alex. Don't thank me yet. You still have to earn the position. You'll be competing against other qualified candidates. We don't give special treatment here, positive or negative. Everyone gets the same fair shot. I understand. And Marcus? If you do get hired, if you make it through the process, you need to understand something. This is my company.
These are my people.
I've worked too hard building this place to let anyone, including you, disrupt the culture we've created here. So if there's even a hint of drama, of unprofessionalism, of anything that makes people uncomfortable, you're gone. Are we clear? Crystal clear.
Good.
Expect to hear from HR within a few days. He nodded, started to leave again, then paused at the door. For what it's worth, Alex, I'm proud of you. I know I have no right to say that, but I am. You've become exactly who you were meant to be. After he left, I sat in my office for a long time just thinking, did I want Marcus working for my company? Not particularly. Would it be awkward having him around?
Probably.
But I'd meant what I said. I don't let personal feelings dictate business decisions. If he was the best candidate for the position, if he could bring value to my team, then he deserved a fair shot. Plus, there was something deeply satisfying about the idea of Marcus Webb reporting to me. About him seeing every day what I'd built. About him understanding, truly understanding, how wrong he'd been. Marcus went through our standard interview process over the next 3 weeks. He met with our hiring manager, Vanessa, a sharp woman in her 40s who'd been with me for 5 years. She called me after his initial interview. Okay, I have to ask. What's the story with Marcus Webb? What do you mean? Come on, Alex. I've seen the way you look when his name comes up. There's history there. I sighed. We were engaged. 8 years ago. It didn't work out. Holy hell. And now he's applying to work here. Apparently. Do you want me to pass on him? Because I can find a reason if you need me to.
No.
Judge him on his merits. If he's the best candidate, he's the best candidate. And if he is, you're really okay with him working here? I'm really okay with running my business based on qualifications rather than personal history. Vanessa was quiet for a moment. You're a better woman than me. I'd have thrown his resume in the trash. But she didn't throw his resume in the trash. She put him through the paces, and by all accounts, he performed well. His interviews were strong. His skills assessments were solid. His references checked out. The hiring committee, which didn't include me to avoid any appearance of bias, ranked him as their top choice out of the final 3 candidates. Vanessa came to my office with the recommendation. Against my better judgment, the committee wants to offer the position to Marcus Webb. He was the strongest candidate across all evaluation criteria. Unless you have an objection?
I thought about it. Really thought about it. Part of me wanted to say no.
To protect myself from the weirdness, the potential complications, the daily reminder of my past. But a bigger part of me, the part that had built this company on principles of fairness and meritocracy, knew what the right answer was. No objection. Make the offer. Marcus started 2 weeks later. I wasn't there for his first day. I was traveling for business, meeting with a potential client in Chicago. But Jennifer sent me updates. He seems nervous, she texted, but professional. Vanessa is keeping a close eye on him. Good. Let me know if there are any issues. There weren't. By all accounts, Marcus was a model employee. He showed up on time, did his work, contributed in meetings, and kept things professional. I didn't see him for the first week he was there. Our paths didn't cross, which was fine by me. But in his second week, I was in the office for our monthly all-hands meeting. This was something I'd instituted years ago, a chance for the entire company to come together, hear updates about our performance and our goals, and celebrate our wins. We held it in our large conference room, which could fit about 150 people. The rest of the team joined via video from our other offices. I was at the front of the room, presenting our quarterly results. We'd had an exceptional quarter, beating our revenue goals by 18% and landing 4 new major clients. This success belongs to all of you, I told the assembled team. Every single person in this room, and joining us remotely, contributed to these results. This is what happens when talented, dedicated people work together toward a common goal. So thank you. Truly. The room erupted in applause. And in the back, standing with the other new hires, was Marcus. He was clapping too, but his expression was complex. There was pride there, but also something that looked like regret. Or maybe loss. After the meeting, people came up to congratulate me, to ask questions, to chat. I was surrounded by my team, and I loved it. These moments, when I could connect with the people who made everything possible, were my favorite part of the job. Eventually, the crowd thinned, and I was gathering my materials to head back to my office when I heard a familiar voice. That was a great presentation. I turned. Marcus was standing a respectful distance away, hands in his pockets. Thank you. I mean it. You're a natural leader. People really respect you. I hope so. I work hard to earn that respect. He nodded, looking like he wanted to say something else but wasn't sure if he should. Was there something you needed, Marcus?
No.
I just wanted to say congratulations on the quarter. And to say that I'm grateful to be part of this team. I know I don't deserve the opportunity you've given me, and I don't take it for granted. You earned the position through the interview process. Same as everyone else.
Still.
I know it must be weird for you, having me here. I considered this. It's definitely unusual. But I've learned that holding on to the past doesn't serve anyone. You're here now, you're doing good work, and as long as that continues, we're fine. Relief flashed across his face. Thank you. That means a lot. As he walked away, Jennifer appeared at my elbow. You're handling this with way more grace than I would, she said quietly. What's the alternative? Make everyone uncomfortable by being weird about it? This is a workplace, not a therapy session.
True.
But still, the man told you that you'd be nothing without him, and now he works for you. That's got to feel good. I smiled. It does not feel good. She laughed. There's the honesty I was looking for. Over the next few months, a strange thing happened. Marcus was good at his job. Really good. He brought in 3 new clients in his first quarter, exceeding his targets significantly. He was professional with everyone, collaborative, humble even. People liked him. And slowly, grudgingly, I had to admit that hiring him had been the right decision. Not because of our history, but in spite of it. He was making my company better, and that's all that mattered. But something else was happening too. Something I hadn't anticipated. Marcus was changing. I started noticing it in small ways. The way he talked about work, about success, about ambition. There was none of the cynicism or condescension he'd had 8 years ago. Instead, he seemed genuinely inspired by the company culture, by the way we did business, by the values we prioritized. In team meetings, he'd advocate for things like work-life balance and employee development. He'd push back against aggressive timelines if he thought they'd burn people out. He'd celebrate other people's wins as enthusiastically as his own. It was like watching someone become a better version of themselves in real time. One day, about 6 months after he'd started, I was working late in my office when there was a knock on my door. Come in. Marcus entered, looking hesitant.
Hey. Sorry to bother you.
I saw your light on and wanted to ask you something. What's up? I've been working with one of the new analysts, Keisha, and she's brilliant. Like really brilliant. She has all these ideas about improving our client onboarding process, but I don't think she realizes how valuable her insights are. I was thinking maybe she could present them at the next leadership meeting. I leaned back in my chair, studying him. You want to give her a platform to showcase her ideas?
Yeah.
I mean, they're great ideas. She should get credit for them. And honestly, I think it would be good for her confidence to present to senior leadership. That's very thoughtful of you. He shrugged. I've been thinking a lot about the whole concept of lifting as we climb, about using whatever privilege or position we have to create opportunities for others, especially for people who might not otherwise get those chances. Where's this coming from? I asked, genuinely curious. He sat down unbidden, in one of my visitor chairs. Can I be honest with you? Please. Working here has been humbling. In the best way. I've spent my whole career in environments that were cutthroat, competitive, every person for themselves. And I thrived in that, or at least I thought I did. But watching how you run this company, how you lead this team, I've realized how limited that perspective was. He ran his hand over his head, that familiar, anxious gesture. You've built something here that's not just profitable, it's meaningful. People don't just work for a paycheck, they actually care. They're invested. They're growing. And a huge part of that is because you genuinely care about them as people, not just as assets. Thank you for saying that. I'm not just saying it. I'm realizing how wrong I was. About everything. When we were together, I was threatened by your ambition because I was thinking about it all wrong. I thought success was a zero-sum game. That if you rose, somehow I'd fall. That your achievements would diminish mine. He looked at me directly. But watching you lead, I understand now that it doesn't work that way. Your success hasn't diminished anyone. It's created opportunities for hundreds of people. It's lifted the whole industry. And if I'd supported you back then instead of fighting you, I could have been part of that from the beginning.
I didn't know what to say.
This level of insight, of genuine growth, was not what I'd expected from Marcus Webb. I appreciate your honesty, I finally said. I'm not looking for forgiveness or absolution or anything like that, he continued. I just wanted you to know that I see it now. I see what I couldn't see then. And I'm trying to be better, to do better. I can see that. And for what it's worth, I think you are doing better. The feedback I've gotten about you has been consistently positive. He smiled, a real smile, and stood up. That means a lot coming from you. Anyway, I'll let you get back to work. I'll put together a proposal for Keisha's presentation. After he left, I sat in my office thinking. People could change. Actually change, not just perform change. It was rare, but it happened. And maybe, just maybe, Marcus was one of those rare cases. A year after Marcus joined Carter Digital Solutions, we had our annual company retreat. This was always a big production. I'd fly the entire company, all 200+ employees from all 3 offices, to a resort somewhere nice. We'd spend 3 days doing team-building activities, strategic planning sessions, and just enjoying each other's company outside the normal work environment. It was expensive, but it was worth it. The bonds people formed during these retreats, the conversations that happened, the ideas that emerged, they always paid dividends throughout the year. This year, we were in Savannah at a beautiful historic resort near the water. On the second night, after the formal programming was done, a group of us were sitting around a fire pit on the property. There were about 20 of us, a mix of leadership and team members from different departments, just talking and laughing and enjoying the evening. Someone asked me to tell the story of how I started the company. I'd told the story before, many times. It was part of the company lore at this point. But people always wanted to hear it again, especially newer employees who'd only heard secondhand versions. So I told it.
The whole thing.
Working at Brennan and Associates. Building my business on the side. The decision to call off my wedding and go all in on my dream. The first terrifying year. The slow build. The breakthrough with Hartwell. The growth that followed. People listened, rapt. Even those who'd heard it before seemed engaged. When I finished, there was a moment of silence. Then Keisha, the analyst Marcus had recommended for a leadership presentation months earlier, spoke up. Can I ask you something, Ms. Carter? Of course. And please call me Alex. Okay, Alex. When you called off your wedding and chose the business, were you scared? Like, genuinely terrified that you might fail? I smiled. Every single day for at least the first 2 years. But you did it anyway. I did it anyway, because I realized that I'd rather fail at something I believed in than succeed at living a life that wasn't mine. That's powerful, someone else said. What happened to the guy? Another person asked. The one you were engaged to? I opened my mouth to give some vague, diplomatic answer, but before I could, Marcus spoke up. He's sitting right here, he said quietly. The circle went silent. You could have heard a pin drop. Everyone turned to look at Marcus, then at me, then back at Marcus. Wait, what?
Keisha said.
Marcus looked at me, and I could see him asking permission. I gave a small nod. I'm the fiancé from Alex's story, he said. The one who gave her an ultimatum. The one who told her she'd be nothing without me. That was me. You could feel the shock ripple through the group. And I was wrong, Marcus continued. About all of it. I was threatened by her ambition. I tried to make her choose between her dreams and our relationship because I was insecure and selfish. And when she chose her dreams, I convinced myself she was making a mistake. He looked around the circle, meeting people's eyes. But sitting here, working for this company, seeing what Alex has built, I understand how catastrophically wrong I was. She didn't just succeed despite my doubts. She succeeded because she refused to let my limitations become hers. He turned to me. I'm grateful every day that you gave me a chance to be part of this, to learn from you, to see what real leadership looks like. And I'm sorry it took me so long to understand what you knew all along." The silence that followed was heavy with emotion. Then Tasha, my best friend and now our chief marketing officer, spoke up. "I was there through all of it," she said. "The breakup, the first year of the business, all of it. And I'm going to be honest, I thought Alex was crazy at first. Giving up a stable relationship for an uncertain future? It seemed reckless." She looked at me with tears in her eyes. But watching her over these past 8 years, watching her build this company from nothing, watching her create opportunities and change lives and prove everyone wrong, I learned something. Sometimes the craziest thing you can do is play it safe. Sometimes the biggest risk is not taking one. Others started sharing, too, stories of their own risks, their own moments of choosing the uncertain path. The conversations went on for hours, deep and honest and vulnerable. And through it all, I kept thinking about the journey that had brought me here. Later that night, after the fire had died down and people had drifted off to their rooms, Marcus found me on the beach. I was sitting in the sand, looking out at the water, just thinking. "Mind if I join you?" he asked. "Go ahead." He sat down a respectful distance away. We were quiet for a while, just listening to the waves. "Thank you for what you said tonight," I finally said. "You didn't have to do that." "Yes, I did. People should know the truth." And honestly, saying it out loud, owning it publicly, that felt important. Like a final piece of growth I needed to complete. "I'm glad." More silence. "Can I ask you something?" he said. "Sure." "Do you ever wonder what would have happened if I'd supported you instead of fighting you? If we'd built this together?" I thought about it. Sometimes. But not in a wistful way. More in a philosophical way, you know? Like, I wonder about the alternate timeline, but I don't long for it. Because you're happy with how things turned out? Because I'm happy with who I became in the process. The struggle, the doubt, the near failures, all of it shaped me, made me stronger, more resilient, more certain of what I'm capable of. I'm not sure I would have developed those qualities if the path had been easier. He nodded slowly. "That makes sense." "What about you?" I asked. "Do you wonder?" "All the time. But not about us getting back together or anything like that. That ship has sailed, and honestly, we're better as colleagues than we ever were as partners. But I wonder what kind of man I would have become if I'd learned these lessons earlier. If I'd understood sooner that someone else's success doesn't diminish me. You're learning them now. That's what matters." Am I, though? I mean, I'm 42 years old, Alex. I spent 2 decades of my career operating from a place of scarcity and competition. Can people really change that fundamentally? You tell me, do you think you've changed? He considered this. Yeah, I do. Working here has changed me. Watching you lead has changed me. I'm not the same person I was a year ago, let alone 8 years ago. Then there's your answer. We sat in comfortable silence for a while longer. "For what it's worth," Marcus said eventually, "I'm sorry. I don't think I've ever said that properly. Not just sorry for leaving or for the things I said, but sorry for not seeing you. For not recognizing how extraordinary you were. For trying to dim your light because mine wasn't bright enough." I looked at him, and I saw genuine remorse. Genuine understanding. "I forgive you," I said, and I realized I meant it. Not because you've earned it or because you work for me now, but because holding on to anger doesn't serve me. You're not that person anymore, and I'm not that person anymore. We're both different now. "Thank you," he said quietly. "Thank you for doing the work. For actually growing instead of just performing growth. That takes courage." He smiled. I learned from the best. The retreat ended the next day, and we all flew back to our regular lives. But something had shifted. Not just between Marcus and me, but in the whole company. People seemed more energized, more connected, more committed to the mission. We had our best quarter yet. Then our best year. Carter Digital Solutions broke $50 million in revenue. We opened a 4th office, this one in Austin. We won industry awards. Got featured in Forbes and Fast Company. And through it all, I never forgot the lessons I'd learned in those early years. That you can't build something meaningful by making yourself small. That the people who are threatened by your ambition aren't your people. That sometimes the greatest gift someone can give you is leaving when you're ready to rise. It's been 2 years now since Marcus joined Carter Digital Solutions. He's thriving. He was promoted to Senior Sales Director 6 months ago, leading a team of 12. He's mentoring younger employees, advocating for work-life balance, and embodying the values we've worked so hard to build. We're professional colleagues, sometimes friends. We grab coffee occasionally to discuss business strategy or industry trends. It's comfortable now in a way I never thought it would be. And yesterday, something happened that made me realize how far we've both come. Marcus came to my office with a proposal. "I want to start a mentorship program," he said, "specifically for young professionals who are considering entrepreneurship but don't have the resources or support system to take the leap." "Tell me more." "I was thinking we could partner with local universities, identify promising students from underrepresented backgrounds, and provide them with mentorship, resources, maybe even seed funding. Help them avoid some of the obstacles you had to overcome when you were starting out." I smiled. "That's a great idea. I was hoping you'd lead it. You're the one with the entrepreneurship experience." "Actually, I think you should lead it." He looked surprised. "Me?"
Yeah.
"You have a unique perspective. You've seen both sides. You know what it's like to be threatened by someone else's ambition, and you know what it costs. You also know what it's like to learn and grow and change your mindset. That's valuable." "I don't know if I'm qualified. Neither did I when I started this company. But I learned. Same as you're learning now." He grinned. "Using my own growth mindset against me. That's cold. That's leadership." We worked on the proposal together over the next few weeks. We launched the Carter Digital Solutions Entrepreneurship Initiative 3 months later. At the launch event, I gave a speech about the importance of supporting ambitious people, especially those who don't fit the traditional entrepreneur mold. When I started this company, I said to the room full of students and mentors and community leaders, someone told me I'd be nothing without them. And in a twisted way, they were right. I wouldn't be nothing without them, because their doubt, their dismissal, their underestimation of me, it fueled my determination. It made me prove not just to them, but to myself, what I was capable of. I paused, looking out at the young faces watching me. "But here's what I want you to understand. You shouldn't need someone to doubt you to access your full potential. You shouldn't need to prove haters wrong to believe in yourself. The fire should come from within, from your own vision, your own dreams, your own understanding of what you're capable of." So my challenge to you is this. Don't wait for permission. Don't wait for validation. Don't wait for someone to believe in you before you believe in yourself. Be so committed to your vision that other people's doubt can't shake you. Be so clear about your path that other people's limitations can't define you. And if someone tells you you're nothing without them, prove them wrong. Then forgive them. Then become so successful that their opinion doesn't matter anymore. Then use your success to create opportunities for others who are where you once were. That's the full circle. That's the real victory. The room erupted in applause. After the event, a young woman approached me. She was maybe 22, with bright eyes and a nervous smile. "Ms. Carter, I just wanted to say thank you. I'm in a situation right now where my boyfriend is pressuring me to give up on my business idea. He says I should focus on getting a stable job instead of chasing pipe dreams. And hearing your story, it gave me the courage to choose myself." I took her hands in mine. "Choose yourself every single time," I said. "The right partner will celebrate your ambition, not fear it. And if this boyfriend can't do that, he's not your person." That's what I needed to hear. As she walked away, I felt Marcus beside me. "That was powerful," he said. "Which part?" "All of it. But especially the forgiveness piece. You really have forgiven me, haven't you?"
Yeah, I really have.
"Even though I try to hold you back?" "Especially because of that. Because it taught me that the only person who can truly hold me back is me. Everyone else is just noise." He was quiet for a moment. "I hope you know that I'm proud of you. Not in a patronizing way or a claiming credit way, but genuinely. You've built something remarkable, and you did it through sheer determination and brilliance. And I'm honored to be even a small part of it now. You're not a small part of it anymore, Marcus. You're making real contributions. The mentorship program was your idea. Those 3 major clients you brought in last quarter, that was all you. You've earned your place here. Thank you for giving me the chance to earn it. Last night, I was working late in my office, reviewing the financials for next quarter. We're on track to hit $75 million in revenue. We're hiring 50 new employees. We're expanding into 2 new markets. I lean back in my chair, looking out at the Atlanta skyline, thinking about the journey that had brought me here. 8 years ago, I was a junior analyst making $32,000 a year, engaged to a man who saw my ambition as a threat. Today, I'm the CEO of a multi-million-dollar company, employing over 250 people, making a real difference in the industry and in people's lives. And the man who told me I'd be nothing without him?
He works for me now.
And he's better for it. I'm not going to lie and say there isn't satisfaction in that. There absolutely is. But the real satisfaction, the deep satisfaction, comes from knowing that I proved something to myself. That I took the risk. That I bet on myself when no one else would. That I built something meaningful from nothing but determination and vision. Marcus didn't make me who I am. His doubt didn't create my success. I did that. I chose myself. I chose my dreams. I chose the hard path, the uncertain path, the path that required me to be braver and stronger and more resilient than I knew I could be. And I'd make that choice again, every single time. Because here's the truth that I wish I could tell every woman, every person, who's ever been told they need to make themselves smaller for someone else's comfort. You don't. You don't need permission to be ambitious. You don't need validation to pursue your dreams. You don't need someone else's approval to access your full potential. The only person whose permission you need is your own. And the only person who can truly hold you back is you. Everyone else? They're just background noise in the story of you becoming who you're meant to be. So choose yourself. Bet on yourself. Build the life you want, even if it scares you, even if people doubt you, even if the path is uncertain. Because one day, you might find yourself sitting in a corner office you built, leading a team you assembled, running a company you created, and realizing that the person who told you you'd be nothing without them was actually giving you the greatest gift. The gift of knowing, without a shadow of a doubt, that you are everything with or without them. That you always were. And that you always will be.
The end.